All right. Hi, I hope you can hear me. So we start. I see it's boom, 17 hours on the dot. Just wanted to find out if at all you have questions, questions in relation to whatever it is we discussed the last time we met. Cannot quite remember what it was we were talking about. But I just shared my screen. Here's to hoping you can see my screen. Right. Any questions? I had so I had mentioned that we'll dedicate I guess a certain segment of today's class to see if people would want certain concerns or questions addressed, questions specific to the final version of the SRS document, which is supposed to be producing by the 23rd of this month, which is Friday next week. That's a deadline. And so we're going to proceed with that plan. Hopefully it won't eat up a lot of our time. But before we start, there are a couple of things that I was hoping we could chat about. So announcements. So I'll start with announcements, and then after announcements, I will pause to find out if people have any specific questions with regards to the SRS document. After which we'll continue off with lecture series number 10, which is essentially configuration management. Now, I guess I should mention up front here, it's part of the announcement, I suppose, but we, because of time, we'll probably gloss over most of what was supposed to be lecture series number 10, essentially just focus on the more important aspects. Anyway, and there we go, right? So a reminder, right? A reminder that we're only remaining
Yeah,
about...
yes, sir.
You can't hear me. Can you hear me? Hello? If anyone can hear me, could you please at least say something? I see the visual here seems to suggest that you can hear me. I thought
yes,
I
I
heard
can
Peter
hear you.
say... Okay, great. All right. I thought I heard Peter say can't hear you or something. So somebody probably wants to tell Peter in the chat to check his speakers or something. There's probably something wrong there. So I was just saying, I mean, if you look at the calendar, what you notice is that we're only remaining with about 3 weeks before last day of class. Last day of class is actually 6th of November. No? This is what the revised session dates seem to suggest. And so with that being said, I mean, I'd hinted at the fact that we'll probably not be able to cover some of these things. I think last session we had was the previous session. And so with that being said, what we've decided to do is to sort of like trim certain remaining components of the course so that we cover as much as possible, and more importantly, so that we focus on the more important aspects of the course, things that you are particularly going to find useful in 4014 next year, right? Because remember, one of the motivating factors behind what we're doing in this course is to set the stage for what you are going to be doing next year. And I'll talk more about the topics that we plan to trim off here. But besides that, there are minor changes to the group project deliverables. If you carefully look at the project description document, what you'll notice is that there were still a couple of deliverables that were pending. Specifically, we are meant to produce a test plan document, a system design document, also meant to produce, I believe, source code, right? We're supposed to go through 3 iterations. So we have initial prototype of feasibility prototype, and then to do that, and we'll talk more about this here. But also we're supposed to produce an evaluation. I don't know what this is. We're supposed to produce an evaluation document of sorts. That's probably not going to happen because of time, obviously. Right. So if you refer to the course syllabus, what you notice is that we're tentatively listed some themes that we're going to cover. Right. The current pending topics are outlined here, right? So we're supposed to cover configuration management, and then we look at testing and specifically verification and validation, and then we're supposed to explore agile techniques, just so we can draw comparisons or parallels between what we've been tentatively looking at so far, which is the waterfall model or the traditional model, right? And then finally, we're supposed to look at what we are calling, or what we call experimental software engineering. Now, because of the time that's left, in as much as we are going to attempt to cover all these different things, but we'll only gloss over them, right? So what you'll notice, for instance, from lecture series number 10 is that we only focus on the more important aspects of configuration management. Same applies for verification and validation, or testing rather, right? We'll focus on the aspects of testing that we know will give you an opportunity to explore a bit further on your own, right? And of course, we cannot skip agile techniques here, because modern day software engineers will predominantly make use of agile techniques, as we earlier on alluded to, with the exception of these complex, large software projects, right, which require careful planning. And then we'll probably focus a lot more on experimental software engineering, because we understand that next year the vast majority of you will probably end up working on capstone projects that are going to involve producing some sort of software artifact at the end of it. Also, want to make sure that you're able to come up with a comprehensive evaluation strategy, right? So you're on the lookout for the specific metrics and evaluation aspects that you tend to focus on when you're producing a software prototype, right? And really evaluating it. Right, so the plan here is to ensure that we cover these 4 remaining themes here in the next 3 weeks. Bearing in mind that between today and Saturday, I think we have the class on Saturday, we should be able to hopefully finalize configuration management. So we are safe, right? And the plan here is to just dedicate a week for each of the remaining themes here, or topics, whatever I want to call them. And then in terms of the redistribution of the marks, the snapshot on the right here is just a reminder of how the marks for the group project were supposed to be apportioned or distributed. What we have decided to do, though, is to do away with certain aspects and to water down other important categories associated with the group project, right? So specifically, we shall not bother so much with the test plan document. We shall not look at, or will not be expected to produce an evaluation plan. We will produce a project report, although the components or aspects of things that we expect to find in the project report will change slightly, right? I believe the project specification document did have some tentative list of things that are expected in the final report. This will be revised once the assignment is made available. And then in terms of the prototypes here, instead of the 3 prototypes we're supposed to produce, we will only produce 1 prototype, right? The initial prototype or feasibility prototype, right? Just something to demonstrate that whatever it is you're working towards is feasible. That's all, right? But everything else still stands, essentially. Yeah, we'll probably look at some of these things later on, if you can, but everything still stands. So things like the poster we'll need to produce, these are simple things, seeing as you already looked at how to create some of these things in 1020, right, in first year. So yeah, I thought I would mention that. And then some of you would have already, those of you that are very diligent and constantly checking your emails or have notifications, I guess, activated on your mobile devices, would have noticed that there's a class theory test number 2 scheduled for the last day of class, which is the 6th of November, right? So brace yourselves, that's in 3 weeks' time. Thought I'd just mention it up front here. Up to this point in time, in terms of the changes to the course, are there any questions that people might have? Can you hear me though?
we can get you.
All right, thanks. All right, so and something else I wanted to chat about before I
Yes, sir, we're able to hear you. And
Thank
good
you very
afternoon.
much. Yeah, good evening. Thank you. Well, evening is technically afternoon, right? It's afternoon. So thank you very much. So this is the thing. The other thing I wanted to chat about is I've had certain groups approach me or contact me to reach out to schedule interactions related to the elicitation process they're going through to gather requirements. Some of you have sent through questionnaires to me for me to fill out, right? And I was shocked, well, disappointed actually, more disappointed than shocked really, because this doesn't surprise me, right? I've been interacting with you for the last 3 years now, so I guess shocked is the wrong phrase here. I'm not shocked. This is, I guess, it's normal. We have become normal here, but I was more disappointed here, and I was disappointed because the things I've seen so far point to the fact that either you are not reading. You're not reading the things that we discussed, or you missed class and did not bother to play back the recorded lecture sessions, right? I decided to use this questionnaire that was sent through to me as an example, right? I told you, one of the things we discussed in lecture series, I don't know if it's lecture series number 4, 5, or 6 or something, is the fact that before you distribute this questionnaire, or before you conduct your interviews, you're supposed to pilot the instrument. The idea behind piloting is to make sure that you are able to collect the things that you're interested in collecting. And so piloting encompasses much more than just taking this thing for a test drive where you just invite someone to say, can you fill out this questionnaire or something? Piloting involves you doing a superficial analysis of the data that you've collected as part of your pilot study to confirm that all the data or aspects of the data you're looking for are going to be captured by your instrument. To confirm that the instrument is free of any errors. To confirm that this instrument makes logical sense, right? And more importantly, this is so far as our private discussions are concerned here, to ensure, and this is for you, not like it's a generic recommendation or something, or aspect associated with piloting or launching a survey or something, but this is more applicable to you because we discussed these things, to ensure that those recommended principles that we discussed have been taken into account. Now, if you look at this questionnaire, for instance, why would you be asking for somebody's name? What's the point? Why are you asking for my name? Right? It makes no sense, right? What are you going to do? What are you going to do with my name here? Right? And did you not tell me as part of your I don't know, informed consent that this information is going to be anonymized? How are you going to anonymize this information if you're eliciting my name, if you're soliciting for my name? What are you going to do with my name? How does my name have anything to do with the requirements that you're gathering? Right? It gets even worse, right? Now, I don't know if I guess this demographic factor here would be in any way useful as you're collecting this data, but that's neither here nor there. The point here is, why would you want me to type my gender? Why can't you use the correct form control, like a radio button or something, or a drop-down menu? Right? The same goes here. Why would you want me to type something? What if you're eliciting these things from, let's say, 100 people, and you have half of them making mistakes here? You're just going to waste your time, right? Wasting your time trying to verify that the things that these people are typing here are correct. Simple stuff here, right? Simple stuff here. Same applies for things like under which department are you? This makes no sense at all. And it's almost like you were not really seriously thinking about what it is you are doing. Because if we're saying that the data is going to be collected from people performing the ICT with education program, why are you asking for somebody's department? What's the point when you know that all your participants are going to come from one department? All you are doing is you're putting yourself at a disadvantage because you're just going to prolong the amount of time somebody is going to spend filling out this survey or this questionnaire of yours. Logic, people, right? you have to seriously think about what it is you're doing, especially at this stage. This makes no sense, right? What courses are sent to you. And there's only a limited number of courses. Why not just include a drop-down menu, or I guess you create form controls where you have like check boxes where somebody just ticks the courses that they're assigned to. Now, I wish I had the complete snapshot here, but what was even more disappointing is that out of the entire instrument that these people came up with, this particular group came up with, there was probably 1 or 2 questions that were remotely, right? Now, underscore, remotely related to the process of enlisting requirements. Remember, this is not ordinary survey. What you're doing here is you're using this survey to collect requirements. Now, if you design a survey and the only part where you're collecting requirements is probably one question, and you're not even asking the correct questions, what type of system are you going to be building? Right? I mean, you want to think about these things. You want to read, right? Do a bit of research. There's a wealth of information available online. I guess it's too late now, but what you should have done is you should have played back the recorded lecture series to understand exactly what was required of you. Right? So I thought I would mention this. I mean, seeing as I guess some of you are already in the process of, you haven't yet launched your respective instruments. Some of you have only just scheduled your interactions with me. So it's something to think about between now and whenever it is you're planning to elicit these requirements you're looking for. Think about what it is you are doing. Fundamentally, you're using these instruments to collect requirements that should come out of this survey or the interviews that you're going to be conducting, right? You're probing. In the case of interviews, you're probing so that you identify specific things. In this case, things are features that potential end users of your system would want your system to exhibit. And how do you know this? The goal that they have insofar as using the system is concerned. When I'm using Ocular, I have a goal in mind. I want to successfully present my lecture presentations. I want to be able to annotate as I'm teaching, to annotate so that I focus on the more important aspects of the presentation. And the features of Ocular, like ALA, annotation, allow me to do that. Think about the goal, the end goal as we're listing these requirements. All right, before we start, we get to the main part of this lecture series. I did mention that I would invite questions. Some people had questions, and I told you to go and think about whatever questions you might have with regards to this SRS document, and then we'll discuss them today. So I'm going to pause here. I'll also invite questions if people have any specific questions with regards to what I just spoke about before we proceed. Any thoughts? Oh, the date is wrong here, right? Anyway, and the lecture is L9, L10, not L9. Any questions? Can you hear me though?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Is there any challenge you're experiencing?
Though
You don't want to ask questions. Is there any challenge you're experiencing?
Okay, for now, no. According to what you've just said, though we'll bring up some questions later.
Okay. If I were you, I'd prepare for the last test, right? There's a considerable number of marks allocated to that test. Of course, I'm not you. And prepare for that test, which is in 3 weeks' time. It's here. It's on a Friday. All right. So if that's the case here, what I decided to do, right, for lecture series number 10 here is I decided to do something slightly unorthodox, and I feel a bit uncomfortable doing this. I'm sorry, but I'm just going to. I need to make sure that the recording has the correct date here. So I'm just going to re-download this thing. I decided to do something slightly unorthodox, right? I decided I was going to, and there's a reason, there's a method to the madness here. What I decided to do was, I decided to showcase, first of all, to walk you through some tools that you'll be required to download if you want to play along, or if you want to experiment with certain things as I'm introducing them between now and Saturday, I guess. But also, my thinking is that if we start our discussion from the perspective of me showcasing a workflow associated with configuration management prior to discussing what configuration management is all about, I think it will make it a lot easier for you to understand what configuration management is all about. But more importantly, though, the thinking is that once I showcase this workflow and once I showcase the range of tools that you need to download, I guess, to get started with this, it will give you an opportunity to start using these tools as you start working towards the feasibility prototype that you're going to be working towards, right? Because remember, once you collect the requirements, the next stage is you start working towards developing this prototype, right? So the first part, and I guess this is going to be for today, I guess, I hope we finish. We still have a bit of time here, but I'm just going to focus a lot on the workflow that you tend to take advantage of insofar as distributed version control is when you're collaborating with other people that you're not co-located with, right? So instances where, let's say, a group is made up of 5 people, and the one is in Livingstone, one is in Lusaka, one is in maybe on the Copper Belt or something, maybe one is in Chipat or something, who knows, right? So you have 4 of you. In instances where you are writing code, let's say at the same time or different times, how do you combine the different changes that you're making, right? This is the whole point of software configuration management, right? At least in part, this is the purpose that software configuration management serves to perform here. So just to point out here that the tool of choice, or my tool of choice, or the tool of choice that we're going to use to discuss aspects of lecture series number 10 is a tool called Git, right? It started as a version control system, and in fact, if you go to the homepage, the Git homepage, you notice that the tagline for Git is distributed is a new centralized, right? So it's a classic example of what's called a distributed version control system, right? And you understand what makes it distributed once we look at the fundamental differences between a distributed version control system and the centralized version control system, right? And you look at the range of advantages associated with these different variations here. So all you have to do is just go to the Git homepage here, and you notice that you have versions of Git for the most common operating systems. So you notice on the homepage here that there's version for Mac, Windows, and Linux. I'm happy to say that in the past, I myself have installed Git on my mobile device, right? And I guess I can showcase here. I do believe I have it, but I can showcase Git on my mobile device so that people see here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to briefly, and I think this is important because some of you have mobile devices, right? So if you want to be able to play around with these things, so I just want to showcase exactly how you go about doing this on a mobile device. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop presenting for now, and then I'll just continue talking, and then I'll connect using my smartphone. Yes. I'm just hoping this thing will work now. I'll connect via my smartphone so that I can showcase exactly how you go about doing this. Just give me a minute or so, just a few seconds, and I should be able to connect, hopefully. Beautiful. Guess I need to mute the speaker as well. Whoa. I'm not sure if you can see my screen, mobile device screen. I don't know if you can. I know I can see it from here, but I don't know if you can see. Can you? All right. So what you want to do,
yes,
right?
If
you don't have a computer and you want to be able to play around or to test out, and I do encourage you to test out some of these commands we're going to be using and how we get to use Git. What you want to do is you want to use your Android device. I'm not sure if there's equivalent of Termux for these other mobile operating systems like Windows Mobile or something. I do know there's one for I do know there's one for Android. So in Android, in the Play Store, what you want to do is you want to look up a tool called Termux, right? So once you install Termux, you will have access to, I don't know if you can see the icon on the top right corner here called Termux. It's black with a prompt there, right? The greater than sign and an underbar. And you should be able to access Termux by just, Termux, by just going to the Play Store, or I will send you the direct link to Termux, so just paste it in the link here. Happens to be quite popular, I guess, 80,000 users, they say. Don't know how many downloads it has, but it's neither here nor there. So you want to install Termux. Once you install Termux, Termux is it's an emulator that allows you to install most Ubuntu-based applications that you might want to use, right? So in this case, the tool that you would be interested in is Git, right? So once you install Termux, you access it by just double tapping on it, and what you have access to is just the terminal itself, right? The normal terminal that you'd have access to if you were working on a computer, for instance. And all you have to do is just install Git, right? And when you install Git, you should be able to do what Lighton is doing right now. So you notice if I just say Git, double tap help, you should be able to see some sort of output there, right? I'll see some output. What I could do is, of course, I can make, or maybe I can, okay, I can, sorry. I can, oops. Maybe I can, okay. I'm just going to, you notice that what I'm doing on my Android, of course, it makes sense because Android is a Unix-like operating system, and pretty much run the same commands that I would run on a computer, right? A computer running a Unix-like operating system like Ubuntu, for instance. So you will notice that people that never listen always logging in with their personal email accounts. Shame on you. So what I can do here is I can, I'll just create a folder called projects, right? And then just cd into projects, and then create a folder called ICT 3020, for instance. How about that? 3020, and when I change the directory into ICT 3020, I should be able to, you know, this, don't worry, these commands will make sense soon, maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow or something. In here, I can create, I'll create the initial file here called readme or something, .md. And I can run Git commands, like I can initialize this Git repository, right? Initialize it so that I tell Git that this is a repository whose changes I wish to track, and we discuss these things later on just now. But I'm just trying to showcase that you can actually do this on your mobile device, right? And then I could probably just say git commit, right? I guess commit. And I haven't configured my name and whatnot. But anyway, you notice that we'll look at the configuration part. You notice that I think I've formatted my machine and haven't used Git on my phone in a while here. But you notice that the whole point of me sharing the screen of my mobile device is to showcase that in the event that you don't have access to a computer, what you can do is you can use your mobile device or Android-powered mobile device to be able to work through some of these things we're going to discuss, things aligned with version control software, specifically Git. Do you understand? Click on that link after class, install Termux, and then within Termux, install, oh wow, I should have quit here. And I guess control quit. Jesus. Anyway, quit. Beautiful. So install Git, and you should be able to, install Termux, and then you should be able to install Git. Now, the way you install applications here is you just have to Google up how to install applications in Termux. But this is what I was trying to do here. Let's say I wanted to I'm trying to see here. I'm trying to see if I can, what application do I normally use? Anyway, I was trying to see if I could remember exactly how you, don't know what that is, but exactly how you go about, yes. Maybe a who or something. Anyway, you should be able to figure out exactly how to, I've forgotten the actual commands of installing applications on Temax. There's a command, let's just try and see if we can look it up here. Anyways, I'm sure you'll be able to look up this information. It shouldn't be that hard. There we go, PKG, right? So what you do is, GitHub here, you just, you say PKG install Git, right? So package install, PKG is just package. So you'd say package PKG install, and then the package name. So you'd say PKG install Git, and then you should be able to install Git, right? And you notice if I enter here, it won't work. I mean, you should probably show me a progress of what's happening, but it won't, nothing is going to happen because I already have Git installed. I guess you should be able to tell me also to say you've already installed Git, right? On your phone or something, or within Temax, right? And so you remember here that I haven't been able to install anything, but one package requires an upgrade because I haven't upgraded this in a really long time, right? Is this making sense? So what you want to do is, the reason I'm showcasing this again is you want to be able to make sure that whatever it is we're going to discuss between now and Saturday, you're able to experiment with the very basic commands we're going to be using, right? Experiment with them so that they make sense. Simply reading about them will not help you in any way, right? Anyways, so I'm just going to unshare my screen now. And then I'll share my computer screen so that, unless if there are questions, so that we can, I'll exit from my phone here, so that we can continue our conversation, right? So I just showcased how you go about using a mobile device if you don't have the computer. And I hope you don't have huge thumbs like I do, fingers like I do. Makes it hard on the phone, right? All right. So if you have a computer, I mean, Git, if you want information about Git, it's available on the Git homepage, right? There's a wealth of information, and Git, like most tools that we're going to be playing around with here, is freely available and open source, right? So you have a little bit of control here, but all you have to do for the purposes of 3020 is just download it and install it. Installing on Windows, I guess, is just a point and click here. But if you are working on an Ubuntu operating system, you typically just install it using apt-get, right? Just so there's sudo apt-get install Git, right? If you are using a mobile device, I just showcased how you do this. You install Temax first, right? I shared the URL to Temax in the Play Store. And then within Temax, you open up Temax, you activate Temax, and then you install Git. And the way you install Git within Temax is just pkg install Git, right? And then afterwards, you should be able to use Git here, right? To test if Git actually works, all you have to do is just either type in Git and then enter, or just Git double hyphens help, right? And then if you see the output that you're seeing on the screenshot, then it's proof that you've successfully managed to install Git. Now, I know on Windows, usually, I believe as part of your installation of the Git version for Windows here, I do believe you have access to so-called Git bash. I've never used that thing myself because I don't use Windows, but the idea behind Git bash is you're able to use the same commands that Lighton is going to be showcasing as we are discussing lecture series number 10, right? Within Git bash. Good luck looking up the documentation for Git bash. All right, and then so that's the help here. And then something else, right? We're going to be doing here, because the way Git works is, fundamentally, it's a so-called distributed version control system, meaning that, and we'll talk about this, but meaning that, let's say you have a user, right? User one, who is located, let's say, on the copper belt or something. And he's writing code with a user who is, let's say this is their computer here. And they're writing code together with a friend or a colleague, I guess your colleagues, I don't know if you're friends or something, who is located in Lusaka or something. And they're trying to figure out how best do we reconcile the different things that we are working on, right? In the olden days, what people would do is you say, whatever change you make, send me an email, and then I'll merge those changes with mine, right? That becomes problematic though if you find yourself working, if you're making changes at the same time. Let's say within the 17th hour of today, you're all writing code, but different portions of code associated with the system that you're implementing. How do you reconcile those changes, right? This is the essence of version control system. So the idea behind the distributed version control system is that you both, on your computer, you both have a repository, right? A source control repository, right? So whatever changes you're making, they are going to be, so this user here, user one, is going to be making changes in repository R1. And then, and we'll talk about this once we discuss differences between distributed and centralized version control systems. But user two will have, let's say, a repository R2, right? So what we're saying is that with a distributed version control system, what you do is you take advantage of a single source of truth, right? So this would be like another repository, a repository that both user one and user two are going to push their changes to and pull new changes from, right? So you're doing two things. You're going to be doing two things from this centralized version control system. You're pushing changes. If you make a change, you commit the change, and we discuss committing, pulling, pushing, don't worry. But the idea behind this is you make a change, you're writing code, you make a change, you commit, you push the change, right? And then this person here, this person makes a change, they do the same thing. They pull new content and they push new changes that they're working on, right? And if you think about this here, if you look at this model, you notice that it's scalable, right? So you can have hundreds, if not thousands of people doing the same thing and making use of a single source of truth. Now, this single source of truth for most programmers has been in the form, at least in 2020 or these days, has been in the form of cloud-based services that host these repositories, the single sources of truth, right? One of the most popular one is GitHub, right? Besides GitHub, there's a whole bunch of them. I mean, I use Bitbucket myself religiously. In fact, what I do when I'm making Bitbucket, when I'm making changes, when I'm version controlling software, I guess I will showcase thing, but let me just go to one of the most recent things I was working on here. And it's not just source control that you can version control, it's documents, right? So what I do in my case, right, you notice here, the historical record of this project I've been working on for a little over a year now, right? So last change was on October 6th at 15:05 in the 52nd minute, right? I don't know what millisecond it was, but this is the point. But you notice that if I can check the history of this repository from the time when I started making changes, which was in April of 2019. So that's almost 1.5 years I've been working on this, right? Now, what I do every time I make a change is, in my case, if you can see this here, but every time I make a change, I just issued I guess I'll have to open this maybe in a terminal command that doesn't have huge fonts here. I do apologize. You just do this, open console, and then change directly to this. So what I do, right? What I do is I always synchronize things to two single sources of truth. If you notice this URL here, I'm just going to copy paste this so that you see. Fetch is pulling, push is pushing, right? If you look at where I'm pushing and pulling things from. You notice that these URLs, I'll talk about repository just now, but I want you to pay attention to the domain, right? HTTPS:// this is github.com. This one here is bitbucket.org, right? So Bitbucket and GitHub are nothing more than cloud-based services that facilitate the hosting of version control repositories, right? Right. So this is where so your GitHub and your Bitbucket will be your single source of truth. Will be here. This will be your Bitbucket, and this will be your GitHub. Right. So you have your Lewis here and your Hawkins and perhaps your Matthews somewhere here, making all these funny changes. And every time either one of them makes a change, they are pushing their changes to the same single source of truth, right? And we'll look at exactly how we set up this thing. But I just thought I would give you some context first and showcase a workflow. I will showcase a workflow on how you go about creating a new repository, initializing it, configuring it, cloning an existing repository. Because remember, when you're setting up the repository for the first time, perhaps only one of you is going to set up that repository. The rest of you will have to clone it. And then how you go about making changes is just editing files, but committing changes and pushing the changes to the single source of truth. So the thing with the single source of truth here is a cloud-based service, right? And so this is where the GitHub part comes into play here. What you want to do is, I just spoke about you installing Git. Something else you need to do is, and no, you don't have to install a cloud-based service. We discussed this in 11.10. All you have to do is you must register an account with GitHub. So go to GitHub, github.com, and register an account. I highly recommend that you register your account using your UNZA assigned email address, because GitHub, as is the case for most of these companies out there, will provide what they call an educational account. It comes with hidden gems, things that you'd otherwise have to pay for if you are not using an educational account, similar to what we're doing with Lucid Chat, where I told you to use your UNZA assigned email addresses so that it is possible for you to collaborate with other people, so that it is possible for you to create a number of documents, so that you gain access to features of the service that you wouldn't have access to if you did not have an educational account. Otherwise, you'd have to pay for it. So, register an account with your UNZA assigned email address. Once you do that, I do encourage you to look up GitHub for Education, and you'll probably find yourself at this page here. I do encourage you to go here, right? Just access the student link here so that you gain a sense of what sort of things you have access to using your educational account with your UNZA assigned email account. In the past, one of the things that attracted me the most from educational account is the sheer number of private accounts that you can create in GitHub. Now, I don't know if this was prior to Microsoft paying a whopping $7.5 billion to purchase GitHub. Maybe things have changed because Microsoft, I think some 3 years ago, 2 years ago, purchased GitHub, right? About $7.5 billion, if my memory serves me right. But prior to that, one of the features, one of the things that really made me gravitate more towards GitHub was the fact that I was able to create, I think, an unlimited number of private repos or repositories, which is a good thing, because there are certain times when you create a repository, you don't want it open to the public. You want to close it off so that only you and a few select people that you allow have access to the repository. I'm just going to showcase an example here of, I guess, private and public repository here. If you look at my account, right? If you look at Lighton's account, if you go to Lighton's, I don't know if this is the case here, but if you go to my profile, if you yourself go and visit Lighton's account, what you will notice, oh, there you go, that's me there. If you access Lighton's account, what you will notice is that you will not be able to see some of the things that Lighton will see. When I log in here, right, I'm logged on right now, that's my mugshot right there. These are the different repositories that I've created, right, a whole bunch of them, by the way. I work hard. If I remember, I can go to your repositories here. Please follow me also when you create your account. You notice that I have a total of 79 repositories, right? This number here, 79 repositories. Not all of these repositories are publicly available. Of course, some of them are just clones, right? I've cloned like public repositories. But if I go and access this here, I think I've shared this, I have. What you notice is that because I'm not logged on here, all you see is, you see this 25 here. Can you see that? Can you see the 25 here? Are you even there? I'm talking to myself now. Are you there?
Yes, sir, we are here.
Yeah, but why are you taking time to just respond? Sad. So if you notice here, when I'm logged on, I see 79 repositories, but only 25 of the 79 are public, right? It's a good thing, because there are certain times when I'm working on things that I would much rather keep private. I don't want the public preying on some of the things I'm working on. And so the feature, right, the feature that allows me to gain access to unlimited private repositories becomes extremely useful, right? So please, what you do is create an account on GitHub. And once you create this account, it shouldn't take you long, right? All you do is you just go to github.com and then create an account. The account is what you're going to use to create this single source of truth. Now, I want to pause here and draw attention to something I've been singing about over and over again. This idea that software engineering is fundamentally centered around tooling, right? Most of what you do involves identifying the right type of tool for you to achieve a desired objective. Project management tool, version control tool. Now, in this case, it's not just a version control software here, but the cloud-based service that you're going to use to set up your single source of truth here, that you're going to be using together with your collaborators, right? And we've looked at a number of other tools here. Can't remember what else we've looked at. I don't know if there's anything else coming our way in terms of tooling, but fundamentally software engineering is, maybe we look at, I think Jira, once we start looking at agile techniques here. But it's all about tooling, right? So you install, GitHub, just go here and then create an account. It shouldn't take you long to create an account. And then once you create this account, you should be good to go. I do encourage you to poke around and look at what they call developer packs for students, right? Just click on the student link and you have access to read up on some of the things you have access to here. Now, if you want, you can click on the teacher link just in case you become a teacher in the future here. But there are a number of goodies you discover here, and I do encourage you to take advantage of some of these things. Some of these things might not really be specific to version control per se. There are a number of companies that have come on board. So if you look up Git for education, for instance, what you notice is if I just look up GitHub education, I guess. And so the subdomain you want to go to is education.github.com here. You notice that some of the benefits you have access to have nothing to do with, I guess I'll have to click on the student link here. They have nothing to do with Git itself as, or GitHub itself as a cloud-based service, but there are some pretty useful things nonetheless here. Get the benefits for students or something. Oh, crap, okay. Let me just get to my account. Go to GitHub, education.github.com and then /students, and then try and see if I can say get benefits for students. There we go, right? And I have to, okay, looks like maybe my thing has expired here. Anyway, I do encourage you to poke around here, right? You have access to this GitHub student developer pack here. If you click here, you find that I'm sure you're given credit for you to access these really nice things. As we are discussing 3010, I'm sure you've perhaps discussed how you get to deploy applications, right? And I'm sure maybe your course lecturer has talked about things like Heroku and hopefully Amazon Web Services and GCP, Google Cloud Platform, for instance. These are all useful things. But this is the thing here. These are the things you have access to when you use your UNZA assigned email address, not when you go around using your personal account like Danny here, right? And the other people who don't want to listen. What you want to do is you want to take advantage of this. These are useful things that you need to pick up. Okay, so here's the thing. I had hoped that we would also talk about the workflow. I will walk you through the workflow before we start our discussion of, I'll talk about the workflow here, just a quick walkthrough of what you use, how you get to use Git and GitHub. This will be tomorrow. And just walk through a few things here before we start our discussion of software configuration management, the principles or the theory behind software configuration management. Unless if there are any questions with regards to how you go about installing Git and how you create an account on GitHub. Now, if you want to be adventurous, what I do encourage you to do is take advantage of yet another cloud-based service, Bitbucket, right? Go to Bitbucket and you can register an account there. Registering an account is free, I guess. Well, you need bundles, I suppose, I don't know. But you want to experiment with these things. You will be surprised once you start looking for a job after next year, when your employers will tell you, do you know how GitHub works? Or do you know how Bitbucket works? Which version control software do you know, right? You want to be able to answer these questions. So I do encourage you to look at, I can log in here, Bitbucket as well, right? Just create an account and then you can do what Lighton normally does, where he will typically set up multiple single sources of truth. I'll also showcase exactly how I'll turn my hard drives into single sources of truth, right? So I push changes and put changes to my hard drive as well, not just these cloud-based services. In the past, I've also used my phone actually, right? This is how I ended up discovering Temax. Are there any specific questions that you might have about what I just talked about, what you need to do between now and tomorrow for you to be able to follow through with what we're going to be talking about? All right, okay, no other questions in this class. Smart people, I suppose. I doubt it. All right, so then if that's the case, I will see you tomorrow, same time, right? Which is, I don't know, 17 hours, I guess. Suppose so. All right, thanks. Good night then. See you.